Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm doing a bonus video today because I realized that today is Friday the 13th, and what a perfect reason to get into that scary mode and talk about some of my scary reads on my TBR. I'm saving most of these for Halloween, but sometimes I do like to pick up a scary read in the middle of summer just because I like the contrast of the beautiful weather but then that terrible gruesome story. I have a pile of physical books and then I have a few ebooks that I'm going to talk about, and as I said, these are all books I haven't read yet, so I'm looking forward to them. And the very first is actually a book that is a classic and I've been meaning to read it for years and years. Frankenstein by Shelley. This is a classic and I believe that it actually celebrates its 200th anniversary today or this year. So I really think that it's about time that I pick up this book. As you know, this is about Dr. Frankenstein, who decides to meddle with nature and create his own monster, who comes alive, as you know the famous quote, "It's alive," and then things happen that weren't predicted. So it's a Victorian novel. I think it's a Gothic novel because it plays with nature and the forces of nature and how those forces can sometimes overcome us and turn into something very scary. That is one I think I'm actually going to save for Halloween because it just seems so perfect for that time of the year. The next one, however, is a book that I might pick up pretty soon because I'm curious to read it, and that is a new acquirement of mine. This is Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pestle. She's the author who also wrote Night Film, and I read that one some years ago and really liked it. This one is more for young adult, I believe. It's about these teenage girls who play with death. They all die, I think, and then they are caught in this place from which they have to escape in order to come back to life, and I believe that only one of the girls is actually able to escape. I've also heard that this is one of those books that you should know nothing about going into it because it's best that way. So that's all I really know, but that's all I really want to know, and it's enough to intrigue me. And I think this one is one of those books that is better for a summer day, but in which I want to read a scary read, maybe tonight on Friday the 13th. However, I already have 3 books that I'm currently reading, so I really shouldn't be picking up any more new books. A book I have on my Kindle is The Birds by Josh Malerman, a very well-known, popular, scary book about a world in which birds in some way have a disease that makes them attack people. But actually, thinking about it, I'm not sure that's what it's actually about. But I also think it's about people not being able to watch the birds and see them because that will turn them crazy and make them die. Something to do with that, but obviously I haven't read it yet. But it's a book that a lot of people keep mentioning when they talk about some scary reads, and it's a book that I'm interested to read. I have it in French on my Kindle. I think that might be a book that I will pick up sooner rather than later. Next book is actually a non-fiction book, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berend. I don't know too much about this one, but it is already considered a modern classic. It is apparently about this event that took place in the southern states of America. One day some shootings were heard and no one could explain what had happened, and that's all I really know. But this book is kind of told like a novel so that you really get into the story and the dialogues, but actually it is non-fiction. It revolves around this mysterious event that no one seems to be able to explain, and sometimes those events that you can't explain are the most scary to me. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one, and I like that it's a nice floppy paperback as well. Let's return to a classic. I have here a beautiful edition of Daphne du Maurier's The Birds and Other Short Stories. This one is naturally a short story collection which contains, among others, The Birds, which is a movie also made by Hitchcock, and I have watched the movie but I haven't read the story, so this will be a first. Apparently this is a collection of short stories revolving around scary, nasty things. I believe that's it, at least. I know that The Birds is pretty scary. Once again, it's about a world in which birds start attacking people, like the Josh Malerman book. So, but I could be completely mistaken, either about this one or the Josh Malaman one. That's the thing about talking about books you haven't read yet. You have a feeling that you know what it's about, but sometimes you end up completely surprised and you feel so stupid afterwards because you've already talked about those books. Have you ever tried that? I'm sure you have. The next book is one that is a sequel, and that is The Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco. I recently read the first book in this series, which is called Stalking Jack the Ripper, and I liked it enough to continue reading. This one is about Prince Dracula, and I love these books because they are historically accurate. I know that Dracula is a myth, but Jack the Ripper was not, and that book was based on actual facts. So we get a fiction story interwoven with facts. And this one is about our main character who goes to Romania to study because he likes to study dead corpses, and then she stumbles across Dracula in some way. I love Dracula. He's one of my go-tos when I want to read a scary read, so this is definitely one I'm excited about. Another book I'm interested to read is Blindness by Jose Saramago, which is apparently considered a classic, and it's a horrifying story about a world in which everyone turns blind. I think it's kind of a critique on the world today and our society, so that's interesting as well. And then we follow some people who are apparently able to see in this world, and they have to maneuver everyone and try to figure out what is going on. I hear it's a very scary read, and for that reason I want to read it, and for that reason it is also on this list. Another book I'm interested in is The Lottery and Other Stories by Shirley Jackson. Now this one is not so scary, but I have read the one short story that it is known for, and that is obviously The Lottery, and that one is a scary read. I tell you, it's a psychological thriller about these. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, just read it. I promise you it's going to be horrifying. And then the rest of the stories I'm interested to read because I want to get into Shirley Jackson and her works more. I hear that this short story collection also contains some stories that are hilarious, but it also contains some of those stories that are pretty gruesome. The next physical book I have waiting for me is this beauty, The Upstairs Room by Kate Murray Brown. So this one is about a family who moves into a house and then realizes that the house is haunted. There is something going on in the upper rooms, and the ambience of those rooms feels uncanny. There is also a room in which the same name is spelled all over the walls, and that's what gets the people in the house starting on figuring out what is going on, and obviously they are very creeped out, and I'm sure I'm going to be so as well when I read this book, because there's something about haunted houses that really gets to me. And I probably shouldn't be reading this one because I am living alone in this big apartment, and sometimes those scary reads gets to me. But you know what it is like, you can't help but feel drawn to those stories that you know are going to scare you, but you just can't help it. The very last book that is on my scary reads TBR at the moment is a huge novel. This is The Accursed by Joyce Carol Oates. It's pretty humongous, but I don't mind. This is a gothic Victorian novel. It's not written in the Victorian era, but it is set in that era, and it's about this University of Princeton in which people around this university start becoming haunted by some supernatural powers that take over control of these people, and then it's about how that affects the people and how they start behaving weirdly. And I'm sure the story takes off from there. This book I was given by a friend, and I love Joyce Carol Oates. I think she's phenomenal at writing tenseful stories, so I'm definitely looking forward to this one, even though it's pretty huge, and also it has received mixed reviews, but I'm still looking forward to it. I'm sure I'm going to be creeped out. If not, that's okay, because Joyce Carol Oates' writing in itself is beautiful enough for me to read her books. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you have some scary reads to look forward to, either today on the 13th or during Halloween. If you have any recommendations to me for scary reads that you really liked, please let me know in the comments, because I'm always on the lookout for those books that will creep me out, even though I don't really like being creeped out. I just want to read them anyway. So that is it for this bonus video. I hope you enjoyed it, and until my next video, happy reading!